Hello everyone, I'm Sunil. I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Tech Basics. In the previous video, we were discussing about while loop in Python. So let's write some programs using while loops and then let's understand while loops in detail. So you can write a while loop and then you can execute a program as we have seen in the previous case wherein you can write a program in this fashion. You can say I equal to 1 while I less than equal to 10, and then you can say print the value of I, and later you can increment the value of I by 1. You can print the value of I and then later you can increment the value of I by 1. So what happens by this? I value starts with 1, it will go up to 10, and every time it will print the value of I, and the increment value after 1 will be 2 and so on. So you will get the numbers over here from 1 to 10 and so on. You can as well do this in a reverse order as we have seen in the previous case, wherein you will take the value of I from 10 to 1. I'll take 10 to 1, and then every time you have to decrement the value by 1 and so on. So in that case, you will get the output starting with 10 and then the output comes down up to 1. So this way you can make use of a while loop. Similar to this, when you work with a while loop, you also have an option to work with break and continue in a while loop. As well, you can make use of else part in while loop. So break normally we use to stop execution of the while loop from the middle, and continue we make use of in order to make the while loop to run. So this is how you can write over that. You can start the value of I with 0 and then you can continue, or you can increment the value of I up to 10, and then in the middle, if the value of I is going to be 6, then you want to either break or you want to continue. So how is that we are going to write this? So you can start the value of I with 1 and then you can say while I less than or equal to 10, you can print here the value of I. You can print the value of I. Later you can increment the value of I by 1, and then you can say if the value of I happens to be, if I equals to 6 or 5, whatever you want, then you can say break. So if the value of I equals to 6, then you can break over there and so on. Take this. This should be in a while loop, so I have to push it over here to the end. Yeah, and the break statement should be over here. If I put this if here, it means it will not come in while loop. The scope of this will be in while loop only when you have an indentation over here in this fashion. Now run the program over here. So when you run the program, what happens is I value starts with 1. When it is 1, it is less than 10, and it will print the value of I, which is 1, and then I value will be now incremented by 1, so it becomes 2. 2 is less than 6, no, so it will not break. So it will continue as long as your I value is 5. Once the value of I is 5, it will print 5. Then here the value of I becomes 6. So when it is 6, it will break. So you will get the value of I from 1 to 5. Because before you check for this condition, you are incrementing the value of I by 1. The reason you will find that the value of I will get printed from 1 to 5 and 6 will not be printed over there, because after printing you are incrementing. The reason you will not get the value of I6 printed over here. So this is how you can make use of the break statement. If you want, you can as well make use of here continue statement. So continue is whether if the value of I is 6, still your program has to continue and so on. It is as good as you are telling your compiler that the program has to continue till the end of while loop and so on. So now you will get the value of I from 1 to 10. Even if the value of I is 6, instead of break we have written continue, which means your program has to continue and it will only come out or exit when this particular condition fails over there. You can as well write else part in while loop. For example, say you can write while loop in this fashion: I equals to 1 less than equals to 10, and then you can say over here print the value of I, and after that, once you print the value of I, you can increment the value of I by 1, and then you can say here else part of this will be, else means what? When you come out of this while loop, then you can print here a message saying I is no more less than or equal to 10. So this is how you can write a message over there. So when this else part is going to execute, when you come out of this particular while loop. So now if you run this particular program, you will get the while loop executed totally from 1 to 10, and then you will get a message that I is no more less nor equal to 10. So this is how you can as well make use of else part in while loop. Then similar to while loop, like in other languages, we have a loop called a for loop. So you can as well make use of for loop in Python. For loop in Python works more like an iterator than for keyword. They can be used to iterate over a sequence of string, list, tuple, arrays, data frame, set, and so on. Let's try to work with this. So for loop here, we are saying it works more like an iterator. So let's try to understand how exactly the for loop runs and so on. So the first statement, if you go by the syntax over here, it says for I in the range of 10, print I. That means whenever you write I in range of 10, it means the value of I will be taken from 0 to 10. So let's try to work with this. So let's copy this particular code from here and then try to execute it. Or else you can go to your compiler and directly type this. So you can say I in a range of 5 you can take over there. For j in range of I, and you can just say print the value of I. So what happens now? Just try to execute the program. You will get the output in this fashion. I will be printed initially for 1 time, then the value of I will be printed for 2 times, then the value of I is printed 3 times, 4 times, and so on. How it is going to execute? Initially, the value of I will be 0. So when you do not specify the starting point, it starts from 0, and j also starts with 0, and j goes from 0 to, it will go up to -1, because you said j in range of I is 0, so it will take 1 less than that, which is -1. So that means your loop is not going to execute over here. In that case, you will not get the value of I printed, which is 0. But when the value of I is 1, what happens is j starts with 0 and it will go up to 1. So in that case, 0 to 1 means the value of j is changing for 1 time. That means this for loop now will execute for 1 time and it will print the value of I. Because you are printing the value of I, it will print 1 for 1 number of time. But when I equals to 2, j value will again change from 0 to 1. Sorry, in the previous case, it will not change from 0 to 1, it will change from 0 to 0. Now it will change from 0 to 1. 0 to 1 over here means when j is 0, the loop will execute. When j is 1, the loop will execute. So I value equals to 2 will be printed for 2 times. Similarly, when I equals to 3, j value now changes from 0 to 2. So that is when j is 0, I value will be printed. When j is 1, I value will be printed. When j is 2, I value will be printed. In that way, you will get 3 for 3 number of times, 4 for 4 number of times, and so on. Now, if you want this to be printed on multiple lines, as we said over here, print function has a parameter called end, and by default the value of this parameter is /n, that is new line character. So whenever you write print, by default you will get \n, that is escape sequence, or it is to change of line. So by default, whenever you write print, it will print the value and it will come on to the next line. You can end a print statement with any character or a string using the parameter. So in this case, we are going to end here by making use of a space. So how is that you are going to make use of this? So here you can write comma end equals to some space, and then you write here print. Now what happens, you see, this print should be in this way. Indentation again, take care of indentation. Yeah, so now what happened? It will print 1 because of print statement that you have given. It will change the line. It will print 2 for 2 number of times, because the line change will only happen when the second for loop is completed. And then 3 will be printed for 3 number of times. Then the j loop will complete, and then 4 will be printed for 4 number of times. And every time you will see that because of this print statement, every time the j loop completes, your line will change, and then you will get the output in multiple lines as you get over here. So this is how you can make use of a for loop within a for loop. What you call it as a nested for loop, and so on. You can make use of nested for loops in this fashion. So just try to copy this. So what is that we have done over here? You have taken two lists over here. One is called DES and the other one is called the fruits. One is the description and the other one is the fruit. And then you can work with this in this fashion. I'll just copy this and then we'll try to execute this code. Yeah. So now what happens? The x value in the first for loop will pick up the values from description, and y will pick up the values from fruit. So what happens? First time the value of x will be yellow. So then what happens? Y will change from mango to pineapple to banana. So yellow mango, yellow pineapple, yellow banana will be the output. Then red mango, red pineapple, and so on will be the output over here. You can see that yellow mango, yellow pineapple, yellow banana, that is for every value of x, y will be repeated for 3 times. In that way, 3 values of x and 3 values of y, you are going to get the output for 9 number of times, and so on. So this is how you can as well make use of this nested for loop.